What's up, everybody? This is Brian Burley, Politician Reacts YouTube channel. This is our podcast, Politician ReactsCAST. I have Braden Ellis on with me today. He was the Cypress College student that unfortunately dealt with a ridiculous professor, in my view, an anti-law enforcement professor. And if you haven't had a chance to watch the interaction with him and his professor, I encourage you to do that. So firstly, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day, Braden. I know we tried to do this over the last couple of weeks, and we finally had a chance to have you on.
Yes, thank you for having me, Brian. I appreciate it, and it's good to be on the show with you.
Yeah, well, thank you. So you're what year are you in college currently?
I'm a freshman right now, and I'm 19 years old at Cypress College in Cypress, California.
Okay, so you were a freshman while you took this class. You're going in your sophomore year then, correct?
Yes, now I'm in my sophomore year because now it would be concluded as summer. I'm taking summer classes at Fullerton College now, but
I
yeah,
went
I'd be
there.
classified as a sophomore. Oh, you went to Fullerton?
Yeah, I
Okay,
went to
yeah,
Cal
very
State
nice.
Fullerton as well. If you need any suggestions on professors, I always suggest rate my professor, but I can also give you a little bit of a heads up. Um,
Definitely. And Fullerton College, the community college, they tend not to like me so much.
That'll happen. So let's talk a little bit about. So what course were you in when this all started in this whole situation?
Yeah, so this is a general education course, which I'm sure you know what that is. It's a 100C, so 100cc standing for, I believe, Cypress. It's a communications class, verbal communications, where basically you learn how to speak to an audience, look somebody in the eye, have a professional business environment in the classroom and shake hands, but it's online, so you're gonna do that. But it's a general education class, and that's what I was taking when I picked it. And this barrage of hatred towards the cops happened in that class.
So was there any build up to what happened, or like did you guys have any if I can talk, if you can answer that, was there any interaction like this? Because I know I mentioned you. I saw your Will O'Neill. Sorry, Will O'Neill, not the city councilman of
Will
Newport.
Kane.
Will Kane. Sorry, Will Kane. They're both
Yeah.
very intelligent people. Easy to get them confused. Uh,
Yes.
and he was they kind of cut out the snippet of like what I viewed as like the typical male feminist that was kind of snarky that's in the clip where it's like he has like the most snarkiest and I'm relatively young. I'm running for office, but I'm also only 28, so I'm not as far removed from the environment that you were in, where you're
Yep.
outnumbered, 20 to 1, maybe 30 to 1 if you're on a bad day. So
Mhm.
was there a build up to this? Was there multiple?
Well, I mean, this was one clip about the police, and there was an hour and 35 minutes on that Zoom meeting that was recorded by her and posted by her onto the app called Canvas.
Okay.
And basically, there was other events that happened throughout our class period in that class. I think we started in February. Examples such as, white privilege, the basics. You couldn't clap because it was, I guess, aggressive, so you had to do jazz hands or something like that. Well, I think it's American Sign Language or something for clapping. And I thought that was just ridiculous. Like, if someone gives a speech, you clap. So there's multiple examples of that. Um, with the build up to this on that certain day, I gave a speech on cancel culture to the class, and there was other speakers that day as well. And it's about a 6 to 7 minute speech on cancel culture. And I brought up the Paw Patrol, which I have an example here. This is what the Paw Patrol looks like. This is the dog. This is a Pez machine, and they canceled him in the summer of 2020 with the George Floyd situation. And they basically had a couple animals like this on the show, where have the police, they have a firefighter, and I believe that's maybe a nurse or a doctor of some sort. And
Okay.
they got rid of the dog. And I brought that up. And I also brought up that Live PD and the show Cops was canceled for a period of time, and said, why are we canceling cops when they're good people and they're heroes? And then after I give my speech, there's a Q&A section for about maybe 10 to 11 minutes. Everyone does. All the students can ask me a question about my speech, including the professor. I'm expecting a devil's advocate coming from the professor, but I didn't prepare for when I gave my opinion that she would go after me and try to get a gotcha moment out of me and make me look dumb, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of. So I went to USC after Fullerton College and Cal State Fullerton, and I had an example of where, almost all your professors are. If they didn't help Democratic candidates, they were They're left leaning in the very least.
Right.
And anytime that the professor would, they were pretty good when I was in school because they knew where I stood on things. But they, because I was there, they would always kind of try to like kind of pose me against somebody else, and we would have a little argument. And the other kid would usually just, you know, talk out of his rear end, and I would say, and then the professor might agree with him, and I said, well, of course you're gonna agree with him. You guys are on the same side.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so there's obviously, were any of the other presentations as aggressive towards the student, or as one sided that as it it seemed like she was talking over you
Yeah.
constantly, which is not the proper learning environment that we should be
No. And
advocating
there was
for.
a guy that gave a speech. He was as far left as you can be, calling for, I guess, violence in the streets and how it's a good thing for America. That's the only way you want real and lasting change is America. If you riot and loot and cause violence, he was calling for that, I believe, in his speech. And she questioned him, but she played devil's advocate and asked challenging questions to her point, and to be fair to her. But at the same time, she didn't get into a full blown argument and say, no, you're totally wrong, and you just don't get it. Everybody's racist. All the cops are terrible, and I didn't get the same treatment as the previous student who was getting devil's advocate, which is appropriate in a learning environment. But I got more of a debate so than a devil's advocate.
Yeah, I think you posed a traditional like, well, who are you gonna call if you're in trouble? And she's like, I'm not gonna call
Simple.
them, which is just like like the most
Do you buy
ridiculous
that?
thing.
No,
Yeah,
no, no way. That's
yeah,
not
that
even.
was yeah, that was just ridiculous. But so this was this your like term project at the end? Is that how this played out, or?
I believe this was one of the last speeches that you give out of a category of three speeches that you give throughout the semester. And then you would have some kind of quiz at the end. But, obviously the story went out, so the class just kind of faded and they quit and they just stopped giving the class because there's so much chaos going on in that class. And um, I guess when I went back there, the story went out on a Thursday, I believe. And then I was on the shows on Friday and Saturday, and I believe maybe even Sunday, and then Monday. And then Tuesday, I went back onto Stuart Varney on Fox Business. But that Monday, when I went back to the class, because I wanted to see how it went and see what's going on and face my peers and not just hide behind a TV screen and just say what I think about the class. I went back, and I've got to have guts to do that. But I went back, and there was a new professor, and he had pronouns, and I'm like, oh, here we go, okay, which is fine, but it kind of tells you where it's leading towards. And they said, let's talk about the situation that happened. And then people went on a barrage of just hate and cussing and calling me names and all these
In the
things.
middle of the class?
I'm sorry.
This was in the middle of a class?
This was the beginning of the class when I went back on Monday after the story went out.
And
Yes.
the professor allowed that to happen.
Professor allowed it. He said, "Oh, let's temper down." No, but he was on her side. His email that he wrote to all his colleagues. What a disgrace. But yes, that happened, and that's bullying. That's harassment. You can't do that. Even in a Zoom setting, you have to make it where it's a safe environment for kids, whether you're conservative or liberal. And I didn't feel safe in that because people are just spewing terrible things about me. Why would I stay in that class? So I left after 5 minutes. Can't imagine what they said after when I left, but who knows? And they stopped the recordings of the Zoom. So the analogy I give to people is basically they put me in a chair in a dark room, turned the lights off. They just verbally started going at me, and it was sad to see.
Yeah, I'm an advocate for continuing to record classes and having them all recorded. If
Why
there were
not?
threats, like students can't make it to class anyways, they should have, because college classes are they're stupid. With lack of a better term, I'll be kind of blunt. Like it's more of like, hey, how much can you memorize in the next 16 to 17 weeks than it is what about you
Right.
learned. And I think in that regard, education's a little bit of a waste, and I wanted to go to USC really really badly, but that's what I feel like I paid for. Besides, like the USC name and a couple connections I made.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. What do you get out of it? Cypress college is a community college. I'm only at a community college. Some people think it's a university. No, it's only a community college.
Yep.
So I haven't experienced the 4 year yet. After my 2 years at Cypress, I'm staying at Cypress. They want me to leave, but I'm not going to leave. And I haven't had the, I guess, pressure of a 4 year college yet, but we'll be there soon. So yeah, college is just not what it used to be anymore, for my parents at least.
Yeah, I think it's been that way for a while. I think, even from my time, which was less than a decade, well, I guess it was like, what, 6 years ago when I was in the heat of all of it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's changed a lot because I work at USC, so I can see where, the bias comes in. And,
right.
I'll be at my job and people will be like, well, Huntington Beach is a racist city, and like, you don't
Yeah,
even live here, you don't
generalizing, right?
know.
That's smart. Yeah,
Yeah, and most of the people at your rallies that you're trying to talk about don't even live here. So you're generalizing a whole city because you're upset about Donald Trump or because for whatever reason. So, well, so your grade, you're okay talking about your grade? I
yes.
take it. So your grade comes in. Was there any other work due after that point? Did was there an appeal process? Did they ever think about just not doing this whole circus? Because if I were you and if I got a bad grade, I don't know if your grade went down as after a result of this situation. But if it did, I would have appealed it and I would have given them, so much hell it wouldn't even been crazy.
Well,
And you can still
the
do that
professor that I
probably.
had,
You can probably
yeah,
still appeal it. So
yeah,
just a little bit of advice. I don't know if you're considering that. If it is,
we could. We definitely could. That's true. With this professor that I had, she never really graded very fastly or in a due time that was good for most students. And it was odd because the story went out on a Thursday or Friday, and I haven't gone on TV yet, but I see that on my iPad that Canvas is blowing up because she's grading all of my stuff, and it's very average, very C work. Some of it, I may not agree with that, but I was like, oh, she's speed grading. I see what's going on because she knows kind of what's, I guess, coming here. And I saw that. I'm like, oh, wow, that's interesting. And then I go on the shows and all that stuff, and I go back on Monday and get the harassment. And I get a call from somebody at Cypress, and we talk about my grade and what we want to do moving forward, because I don't want to go back to that Zoom class because people are just going to be cussing and screaming, and it's just what a waste of time. I have better things to do in my life than have
I agree.
liberals and people scream at me. So they were gracious with me and let me do an independent study for the rest of the semester, which means basically do nothing with that class. There was no independent study. I just didn't do anything, and they kind of quit. They pulled up the white flag and started waving it. And some students may need those points, and that was ridiculous to me. But yeah, that's kind of what happened with the grade. I got a C, so whatever. I believe I'm better than a C, but that's kind of what happened. Grades for me are things that I don't think about after 2 weeks of getting the grade, and it doesn't matter in life really, as long as you do the right job.
I agree, but also I've been in your position, and I've had to get really stern with some professors. Um,
Ooh,
if there is something that is not yeah, if there's something that you feel wasn't properly applied, a policy, even if she didn't give you your results back fast enough, or even I think you have a really good case with what happened with this whole situation. You said you went back into your class saying that it wasn't a conducive uh,
it's terrible.
education environment. I would look into it. I don't know where your process is, if you have people that might be able to give you a better idea. But let's talk a little bit about. So the
Good point.
union said something, correct? I thought the teachers union had
Oh yeah,
said something about racism, about how the school was racist or something for the way that they didn't
sure.
defend her. Or I don't. Can you elaborate on what happened there? Or
What does it have to do with race? What does it have to do with race? Why do you have to pull out the race card? I don't care who you are or what background you are from. If I'm not getting respect from somebody, it's not, you don't like that. I don't care, like I just said, if what background you have. If you're my professor, I'm going to give you respect. because you're my professor, you're my authority. The Bible teaches you respect your authorities, and I do. I respected her, and I respected other people that I dealt with at Cypress College, and still do, because they are a authority figure. So that being said, I saw the faculty or their letter, low class, very low class. They're calling one of their students who they teach, who I pay hundreds of dollars for to go to an education to be taught, and they call me, I guess, without calling me a racist, they called me a racist because the college wasn't being anti-racist. Okay, who's the anti-racist against? Probably me. So no, I saw that, and they have to do what they have to do, and that's fine. They have really nothing. It's a damaging video, very damaging video. So they pulled out the race card because I'm a white male, and yeah, it's so sad and low class, but to be expected from the Democratic Party, and it's sad, Brian.
So you said you were going to Fullerton College, but then you also said
The
you're
community college, Fullerton
yeah,
Community
yeah,
College,
community
yes.
college, junior college up there. Um, I think her one suggestion is Professor Balma. I had a good experience with her. If you are going to take a political
What
science
subject
course,
is that?
political science. I did take.
Okay,
She took.
great.
I took one political science course while I was there, and she was a really good resource. So that's a suggestion. But you said you were also going to continue at Cypress College. Is that correct?
Yeah, so they're I guess you can call it sister or cousin schools. So you
Yep.
can take a class here, and then it'll go to this credit, and then this credit. So you just do both, and whatever is available, you pick. I think it's a good system because if you go to Cyprus and there's not the classes or hours that you want, you can go to Fullerton and it'll count the same credit, and you can just put it over at Cyprus. So I think that's a good system in some ways. So that's why I bounce back and forth from Fullerton or Cyprus.
So I guess my question is like, obviously you don't want to not go there because that would look like you're waving the white flag to an extent, right? You let them win. But is there anything that has like gone, where you've thought, well, why would I want to go back to this, this
Yeah.
institution that isn't going to protect its students or not even, they're not even protecting free thought, really.
Yeah, they're not. The word that I use and I try to challenge colleges to use is write a statement out from your PR people, your marketing people. Say, we support ideological diversity. Ideological meaning diversity of ideologies and ideas and free speech, essentially. Just a big word for free speech. They will never use that unless it's like Liberty or some common sense college. They won't use those words because it's pretty controversial and they'd have to insure it. So I'm going to stay there because you do need fighters. Can you imagine if all the Republicans or independents or Christians pulled out of colleges? It'd be a frenzy of just
They are saying
Democratic.
attendance is down. I did read a
Yeah.
study that attendance is down except at Christian universities like Liberty and a few other universities
Right,
are
because
up.
some people just want an independent classroom. They don't want to be shoved down as a liberal and all these. Just teach us the subject as hand and let us learn properly without putting your liberal bias into whatever subject that they're learning. So I'm going to stay there because I want to fight and fight for free speech, and we need people to do that, not just say, "Oh, I'm going to go to another place." And I think that my calling is to stay at these kind of places.
Well, I give you props for doing that. In regards to the professor, is she going to continue teaching? Do you know at that institution? What would you like to
Cyprus?
see? Yeah, or have you heard anything? Did you guys ever, for one, did you guys ever talk after the fact? Did she reach out to you, or if you can talk about it, of course. If you can't,
No,
I completely
I
understand.
haven't received anything from the professor, but I say this to everybody. I'd be willing to talk to anybody about anything. I don't care who you are, because civil debate is what makes the country great. And I believe that's what it's all about. So I'd be willing to talk to anybody about anything. But no, I haven't talked to the professor personally, but I've talked to other people and students, and that's been great. But I don't believe she would be teaching at Cypress in the fall because she was already planning on leaving. And this was her first class at Cypress, which is
Okay.
fine. But she was supposed to leave in the fall. So she had 2 weeks left of teaching this communications class, but it didn't make a difference anyway. She was leaving in the fall. So I don't know what her plans are. I pray for her. I hope that she has a good life. But that's as far as I kind of go with everything.
Yeah, I mean, you don't ever, even if she came out, if I was in your position, if she came out and said, yeah, well, I wasn't handled well, I still want to continue to teach me better, I'd accept the apology and say, keep on
Yeah.
teaching, but just don't make the same mistake again, right?
Yeah,
Like,
because I don't like the cancel culture. I hate
yeah,
that. I don't like people. I mean, people make mistakes, and if they apologize, they should be given forgiveness and grace. That's what I like. Where people say something like in high school and then they get canceled and their life is over. It's like, what kind of culture is that? So people said, "Oh, Braden Ellis, you canceled her." Well, no, I didn't bring up her name, and I never called for her to be fired or anything like that because I don't believe in that kind of stuff. But I wanted to also get the message out of this is what's going on in our colleges. People wake up. This is what's happening. It's all across our nation. So that's why the video was out there and I talked about it.
have there been any like other, I guess, negative consequences of this whole thing that you've gone through? I know when I kind of posted on my on this react on the politician react channel about crazy voicemail I got, and that's part of the territory with
Saw
getting your name out there. Have you, obviously, I hope your information isn't out there, hasn't been released, but has anyone tried to reach out to you, whether it be in person, social media? Has anyone noticed you and said anything nasty? Like, what have been the
Yes. So I have only had really nasty interactions on social media. In person, it's all been all good. Like I walk on the beach or somebody will come up to me and, you have to be careful because you don't know who's good or bad. And if the good people notice you, the bad people really will notice you. Right. So,
yeah,
and I also work. So, the mask thing, I guess, kind of helps, but, yes, which is dumb. I've had interactions on social media that are negative, but you have to take them serious, whether you think they're a joke or not, because it may be specific or whatever, and you want to protect your family and your personal information and your loved ones. So it's been 98% positive. I remember I was coaching on a golf course, and we were kind of just messing around with our players, and there was a gentleman that was riding over fast. I'm like, oh man, one of my players probably did something, and he came over to me and he had like tears in his eyes.
oh
He's
wow,
crying because he saw who I was, and he said that my son, he wants to become a police officer, and he saw your video, and it was just a great story. So examples like that and have been great. So yeah, 98% positive, but you always get those 2% people that are keyboard warriors. If they ever saw you in
yep.
the real life, they wouldn't do anything.
Absolutely, it's something that comes with the territory of running for officer, being involved politically at all.
Right?
I,
You
I have
understand that.
Yeah, I've got a traveling crew around Huntington Beach that loves to spread lies about me, and I've gotten to the point where I kind of think it's funny. They go to every little event, and they're not well upstairs, and that's okay. There's people out there that you pray for them, and you hope that they get better, right?
Yeah, just like, do you have anything better to do but sit on Facebook?
They
Like
don't. I mean, a
they
lot.
don't.
I think the number one issue in this country besides mental health is loneliness. I really do. I think people are lonely, and this is their way to feel better about themselves is to push other people down, and that's unfortunate. I think it's going to be harder to get law enforcement officers if they're villainized so much by the media
Oh my
and by
goodness.
college students, and it's like an institute. The only institutional thing is that we're creating is a hatred towards good people that are trying to keep us safe, in my opinion. But so
Yeah,
has
definitely.
this yeah has this situation, because obviously you're only 19. I'm
Mhm.
a decade older than you. It makes me feel old, even though I probably look like I'm the same age as you with my baby face on the screen here. Um, so has this made you think about what you want to do after college at all? Do you want to do anything politically? Are you? I know when I met you at the Lincoln Club meeting, you were kind of talking about a few other things, but that you had an open, kind of an open door approach to everything. So where are you at right now? That I think it's been a month since me and you met.
Yes, so I've had a lot of people. I've gotten political consultants and people that I've been around from the Lincoln Club Institute of Orange County, and the Barkeys, which are great, great people. Dr. Jeff Barkey and Mary Barkey, I love them. They've been great consultants. So, am I looking at running for office? Yes. Am I looking at doing it right now? Yes. At the same time, do I want to just finish college
Don't run against me.
and do something? No, no, I'm gonna let you do what you want to do because I think you'll be great at it. You'll do a great job. I don't
I'm
need
just
to run for
kidding.
that position. You got it covered, right? So, um, I'm looking at school board or something along the city council, but I'm young. I'm 19, and people would say, "What's your background?" Well,
Yeah, you
I
can't
can
even run
give
for
them.
Congress because you have to be. Yeah.
Too young, too young. But yes, 18 is the age for some things, I believe. And I'm looking at running, but I'm also looking at, do I just want to finish college and have my name out there, but not run for anything, be since like an influencer, if you will, right? So that's what I'm looking at. So I guess it's kind of the same thing when I talked to you last month, was my options are open on the table, but I haven't picked up a card yet and used it.
Well, I think I feel like, and I've had some unsuccessful campaigns in my life, and I feel like because I really haven't had any help, and also I don't know if there would have been very many people that have ran at a relatively young age and gotten, over. I think what this last election, the whole year, I got over 60,000 votes in all the elections. So that's a decent amount, but
It's
we
good.
won our central committee race, but we lost some other ones, obviously. So, if there's anything I can do in terms of advice, there was things that I wish I would have known before I started that,
Yes.
even people that have done it, they don't know because they haven't done it at a young age. So
Politics is
it's
tough. It's a blood sport. It's hard, and people think, oh, he's just a suit that's talking. Well, he goes to bed or she goes to bed at night thinking about how to change the county, the city, or the country, and it's a difficult thing to run for politics. But that's why a lot of people don't do it because it's scary, it's dangerous, and sometimes it's really, really hard.
No, absolutely. It takes a lot out of you. I probably underestimated it, and you have to, it takes a extra layer of thick skin, and also I think staying off your phone. I think I made that mistake, and you look like you're already doing a good job at maybe staying off social media as much, or at least making all your stuff kind of hard to
Yeah.
find. Because I mean, I can tell you, like I've told people stories about how I'd be at dinner and people would just I'd let them into my personal account and my personal life, and then I'd be out dinner with, which is now my ex girlfriend and my grandparents, and it was like, oh, I'll answer you after dinner, and they just keep messaging me, I said, all right, you're interrupting my dinner now. I'm gonna block you, and then they have 7 other accounts, and it's like you have no self control over your social media, so you're already a leg up there because I think a lot of people. I think if you look at the governor's race, and I've talked about Major Williams. I don't know if you know who Major Williams is.
I do.
I've covered him on this channel, and a lot of his issues that he's had over the last 2 months are all because he lacks that self control, and he's running a social media campaign, which is not going to get you out to 20 million people because you need to mail,
No.
you need to knock on doors, do
Right.
TV, do the whole works.
Ground game. Yep.
So you got to get off social media. That's why I've been telling all these, people that want to run for governor, whether they're at like probably 0 to 2% in the polls, like you're not going to be able to do it just posting on Facebook and using your thumbs and thinking that you're going to tweet your way or post your way to 40% of the vote in a recall election.
Yeah.
That's
Look
not
at
going to happen.
Bloomberg. He didn't do well.
Yeah, yeah. Even if you have a lot of money, you got to have a money, message, manpower. I forgot what. There's like 5 M's. I can't remember them all. That's like the college approach would be. Hey, you need 5 M's. But I don't actually agree with that.
Right.
I think if you're a good candidate, if you have funding, if you have a good platform, and if you have good
Yes.
people helping you, you'll be good. But so
Definitely.
you've been able to interview with a ton of different, news corporations now that you've been doing this.
Yes.
What has been your experience with that? Do you have a favorite interview? What's the like, coolest person you've met throughout that process? I'd be really interested to know.
The coolest person I met. So I think I had Dan Ball, Will Kane, Stuart Varney, just great names, great guys. Greg Kelly with Newsmax. The coolest interview I did, probably Stuart Varney. So I was late for my interview. I overslept. I missed the time. I never do that ever. I'm always up at like 6 a.m. That's the kid I am, right? But I was doing such a barrage of interviews with smaller ones and big networks that I was just so exhausted. No, like 24-hour days, because you're just up. You're on this high of you're doing interviews. Your face is out there. You want to see the coverage. You want to see what's going on, and I didn't get much sleep because you don't think about sleep. And I slept so hard that I slept through my alarm, which is I've never done that in my life, not once. And
I've
I'm
done
getting
it.
blown up on my phone. And God works in mysterious ways because they put me at a better time slot, which was like I guess 7:30 at my time, 10:30 there. So I thought that was a little bit better, and the ratings got better. But the coolest interview I did probably was with Greg Kelly. He was really cool. He was a gentleman. He was very nice. Um, Stuart Varney, I grew up watching. My dad would watch Fox Business to see stocks, and we'd watch flip back and forth to Jim Cramer or whatever it might be. So talking to Stuart Varney myself was just like a dream come true, and it was a perfect interview in my eyes because he's a legend on Fox. He's a legend patriot, and he's done a great service to us. So I'm a big Stuart Varney fan, but that was my favorite one. So when you do interviews with Fox, they have the control room on your computer. So I have a computer here, and it's a black screen. You don't see the interviewer at all. So basically they say, okay, ready, Braden Ellis? Yes. 10, 9, and then they say, okay, you're live. And then you hear the background music and everything, and then you hear Stuart Varney or whoever's interviewing you. But it's tough because you have to look directly in the camera. You can't look this way or that way because it would look weird on TV. And you can't see their facial reaction. So you don't know if it's a good answer or not. If they're smiling, you can't tell. You have to wait until you have to get out of the interview and go see on TV. So it's difficult to do interviews on Fox because I did it on Skype, and OAN was the same way in Newsmax. So it was tough to do it, but they make sure that you look good on that for sure.
I'm guessing they do that for the signal. They don't want to have to transmit video, and then you have a huge delay. And
Right.
know,
Right. Definitely.
especially with some of the people being of an older generation, they might not have the fastest internet or be able to hear as well, so they don't want to have to repeat. So, well, that's interesting. I think that's a really good experience for you, and I think you're well spoken. So, keep your options open to maybe even do. I'm doing my own thing now with this, just kind of promoting issues. I think it's kind of fun to talk politics with people.
Yes.
So. I don't want to take too much of your time. See if we have any questions on here. I don't think we do. It was looking like the live stream was kind of slowing down here. Someone's suggesting, Camille Williams says, yes, run for school board or city council. What area are you, you don't have to give me the specific area, but what part of Orange County?
Near the Cypress area.
Okay.
It would probably be within Los Alamitos or Cypress School Board. Because I think it's important you have critical race theory that's coming and it's hot. It's coming like wildfire. So I don't know if a student can be on a school board, but I'd be more than willing to fight for the education because it's so important. Education is where it's at. That's where it's, I think colleges are Harvard right now. They're Harvard for learning how to be a liberal. And it starts at your local school board and spreads out. So if you don't have people at your local school board, the CRT, the Common Core, will spread throughout the country, and you need fighters locally at a school board or a city council. So I'm looking at both. I know a lot of people do want me to run, but it's not easy at 19, and especially when you don't have a lot of money and you're still getting to know political people, and so it's not an easy just to say, let's do it. It takes a lot of prayer and thinking and finance resources as well.
That is definitely true. I can attest to that.
Yeah.
Well, I think that'll do it. I know that we were going to go out 45 minutes, and we have. This will post on YouTube probably within the next day or two. Just got to edit it and publish it.
Great.
So I don't know if you want to, maybe say where people can find you or if there's anything you want to promote. But yeah.
Definitely. If people are willing to, I know a lot of people want to donate to my college fund. You can go through Cypress College Foundation, or you can follow me on Instagram at b.dot as like a period .ellis b.ellis.
And that'll be in the bottom of below where our names are. So yours will be
So
down.
if people want to donate to a college fund for me, I'd be more than willing to look at it and see it. That's the best way. Or write me something, send it to Cypress College, and they'll send it directly to me. So, but I appreciate all the love and support that people have given me. And Brian, thanks for the time on here on Politician Reacts. And I watched a few of your videos. It was great. And keep up the good work. And my family's definitely praying for you. If we can vote for you, I think we can, possibly. I don't know if we are
I
in
don't know.
the
I'd have to
district.
see where you live, but we don't know where the lines are going to be until December or January with
That's what I
redistricting.
thought, the gerrymandering and everything. So,
Yeah.
no, but we're praying for you, and
Thank
you
you.
got our vote for sure, for sure.
Absolutely. And if you want to send me your, if you have any links to anything, I can push it along with all our other stuff, and maybe we can help you out if there's some
Great.
groups out there. So, well,
Beautiful.
thank you for your time, man. I really appreciate it. If there's anything I can do to help, if you do decide to run or anything else, you got my number, and be willing to give you advice or help in any way.
Perfect. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon, man.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like our posts, and comment and spread the word. Thank you for watching.
Beautiful.